world's largest volcanic region discovered under Antarctica. West Antarctica hides almost 100 volcanoes under the ice, which are awakening. And this is the reason we're seeing a lot more termination events and glacial rafting events, because of the breakthroughs coming off of the heat off the East African volcanic ridge. And that is on volcanofoundation.org. So everybody's blaming all the melting ice on global warming, but really, is it the hundreds of volcanoes under the ice erupting simultaneously causing those poke throughs, and then it'll calve off there? Well, not even calve, it'll just break and then float out because it's an ice shelf off there, right? We get a big old ice raft.
Yeah, I was kind of, tripping on that whole idea about Antarctica, because what happened with the Tonga explosion. So think about these giant chunks of glacial parts flying up in the atmosphere, adding water that was not in the ocean. So last time we got a blast of water that was already in the system. It was in the ocean. They put it up in the atmosphere. What was it? 14% more moisture. And then everybody's wondering why there's these 1,000-year floods, 500-year floods, and whatever. Can you imagine the chaos that would ensue after a bunch of ice and water was blown up into the atmosphere from one of these buried volcanoes under these glacial sheets? Sorry. There you go.
How do you spell tsunami? Think about all the oceans, around, especially the Indian Ocean. You get big chunks of that stuff going into the ocean, and you're liable to have ginormous tsunamis. And they could go worldwide, really. It depends on where that stuff comes off at. But nobody wants to talk about that, in the media. It's all cow farts, right? So I say if cow farts were the problem, we should give Wild Bill Cody posthumously the Environmentalist of the Millennium Award, because he obviously saved the entire galaxy by killing all those infernal buffalo. That's the ridiculous. I state that just to show how ridiculous what they claim is. Oh, and here's another one you may not be aware of. The ultimate. That's right, Otto. There's a sun in tsunami. Isn't that funny? So here's the ultimate thing that they believe now is going to wipe out life on Earth. We're going to run out of oxygen in 1 billion years. And the reason we're going to run out of oxygen is the plants are going to die because they're going to run out of CO2. So here we are trying to limit CO2, and it's the lack of CO2 that will be the ultimate demise. It's, the sun is slowly heating up as it gets older and older. It heats up more and more and more. Our star will continue to get hotter. And the chemical reactions that's going to cause in the rock is to absorb more CO2. So eventually the rocks will absorb too much CO2 and everything will die off. So maybe we need to strip mine some coal fields and set them on fire.
Right. I was going to say, think about this here. Maybe these aliens that they're suspecting is sending this 3-eye atlas, maybe they're concerned about us because they've been watching our planet and watching the CO2 levels go down near extinction levels. What is it, 419 parts per million now or something like that? And they want to reduce it even further down near extinction level, carbon dioxide. And we know in the past, when we had giant animals and giant forests, there was a lot of CO2 and oxygen to fuel the biosphere. And I'm kidding on that. I don't really believe that aliens sent that, but they have this carbon dioxide fog that's coming off of it, which is not really, associated with comets. What do you think about this new interstellar object that everybody's losing their mind over?
Well, if I weren't doing this video, I was going to be making a video on that. So maybe in a day or two I will. But
alien invasion.
Here's the thing. What I see is this. It does have a message, and the message is that we can be hit by something like this. We didn't see this coming. Luckily, it's not going to be coming near us. But if this thing were to hit Earth, it would be worse than what wiped out the dinosaurs. It's bigger and moving a lot faster. Now, the CO2, Avi Loeb, Harvard is saying it's aliens. You know, he's like one of the old fuzzy-headed guy on the History Channel, but he always says that. But it could be, but I seriously doubt it. Now, we have found a nebula out in space that has, it's just like a star nursery, a planet nursery. It's heavy in CO2, so it's possible that could be the case. Now, the thing I find interesting is it's shedding nickel. Not nickel iron like we normally see nickel in our solar system, but just like nickel. It might be artificial, given that. Maybe that's the biggest sign I see that it might be artificial. There was a lot of fishy things about a Moa, or whatever you want to call it. But really and truly, I think a sufficient advanced civilization is going to have anti-gravity, slinging large objects around like that with just pure inertia at those velocities. I don't know what the point would be for an advanced civilization to do that, because I think we're close enough to anti-gravity technology. I think we already have it in the government side, and some of us are peddling around with things that we think will take us there.
The obvious question, are you on shrooms? Illuminated shrooms combining 6 powerful mycelium and a fulvic mineral delivery system, selected for their synergistic, restorative, and protective actions. Potent. And please remember, ladies and gentlemen, every purchase you make helps keep this podcast on air. So please remember, that link's in the description box below. And are you shrooming? Please remember civilizationcycle.com, and also buy me a coffee /Civilization Cycle.